Hi everyone, my name is Amber. Welcome back to my booktube channel. This is my October TBR. So as you can see, I think I am being very ambitious in October. I don't actually have any time off work, but I'm thinking about booking off a few days here and there because I really want to get back into reading after going on a holiday in September and kind of losing my reading motivation. Although I still read quite a few books in September, I didn't really read as much as I really wanted to. The holiday was mostly just walking rather than sitting down by the beach to read. So in October I would like to take some time for myself to read some books, and these are some of the ones that I want to read. So I'm going to start from the top because I'm not going to mess up this pile. First one is And the Mountains Echoed by Khaled Hosseini. I recently read A Thousand Splendid Suns by the same author and I loved it. I read The Kite Runner quite a few years ago now, and I've also read the graphic novel and I love those. So this will be the next book of his that I need to read. So I think this one is about two siblings, a brother and a sister. It's about the brother trying to protect his sister as they embark on a journey across the desert to Kabul. I'm not sure which year this is set. His other books have been set in the 90s, and you see Afghanistan under various different levels of control, including by the Taliban in the early 2000s. So I don't know if this one is also kind of historical. Yeah, so the first chapter is set in 1951, so I'm assuming it's still historical. I always learn a lot from Khaled Hosseini's books, and he has this incredible way of writing, so I'm expecting to love this one and I really want to get to it ASAP. So this might be one of the first books I end up reading in October. Next I will be reading For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing. I've also read from this author before. I have read both of her other books, and this is another thriller. So I don't know what this one is about because I don't like to read the synopsis for thrillers, but this is her most recent release. It only came out about a month ago and my library just got it in, so I was the first person to request this because I'm turning into a Samantha Downing kind of stan. I think I've reviewed My Lovely Wife, her first book, on this channel. If not, then I should definitely do so, and I think I'm going to review He Started It at some point as well, maybe in October, because it's kind of a spooky book, or rather it's a thriller, and it's very kind of, it's a book that keeps you on your toes, so it's a good one to read I think in October, and I'm hoping this is going to be the same. Now that I'm talking about it, I want to start it right away, so you might see this in my September wrap up in a couple of days, but I'm thinking I'm going to leave it for October. I also really want to finish off Feed, so I started rereading this a couple of months ago and I didn't get very far in. To be honest, I'm not liking it the same as I didn't really like it when I first read it, so I'm not sure I'm going to enjoy this, and I'm probably not going to continue on with the trilogy, but I do want to give it a fair go just in case my reading tastes have changed, because I have read Into the Drowning Deep by this author and I loved that one, but this was their first book, I think, at least under this name as far as I'm aware. Maybe their writing just wasn't as developed as it is now, but I remember thinking this one was quite average, so I gave it 3 stars when I first read it, and I'm probably going to give it 3 stars now, judging by the first few pages. But again, I'm going to go into it hoping to enjoy it, and maybe it will pick up. So this one is a horror book. It's set in 2039 I think, and there has been a zombie outbreak, and the main character and I think her sibling, perhaps her brother or stepbrother, are kind of reporting via a blog the zombie outbreak and the aftermath of the zombie infestation. This isn't really told in mixed media like I would expect from this kind of book. I think that would have really added to the book, and I probably would have enjoyed it more if it had been told that way, but it's just told in normal prose with a couple of kind of newspaper clippings here and there. So yeah, I'm going to be finishing off this one, recapping it, and then deciding if I want to carry on with the trilogy, which I actually think is now a 5-book series now, which is, yeah, I don't know why. The next one is Not Even Bones. This one is YA. I think it's kind of a paranormal horror book, and that's why I chose this one to read this month, because it's October and the spooky season. So as far as I'm aware, this is about a girl and her mother dissects monsters, I think, and the main character is actually secretly a monster as well. So she's either trying to lie to her mother, or her mother knows about this. I don't know how her mother wouldn't know about this, because, you know, it's kind of a big thing to hide. It says here that one day Nita decides to save her mother's victim because Nita herself isn't exactly human. I know a few people who love this book, so I'm hoping I'm going to enjoy it, and then I will read the rest of the series. Probably not this month, or definitely not this month, but I'll be reading it at some point if I enjoy this. For a bit of a change of pace, I'm going to read Felix Ever After. This one is about a trans boy called Felix, and I think he starts getting anonymous messages or kind of notes in his locker, and he needs to try to figure out who's doing it, who's being an arse to him. It says here something about a love triangle as well, so I don't normally go for love triangles, but if this one includes a transgendered teen, then why not? It's something a bit different to your usual 1 girl, 2 guys who may or may not be slightly older vampires. So I'm looking forward to reading this one. I'm convinced that I'm going to love it. Then I have a couple of non-fiction books that I want to read. The first one is called The Gift of Fear. So this one is about kind of survival instincts and trusting your gut. I think it talks about how to spot subtle signs of danger and how your body automatically does this, and that you should trust your instincts. If you think something doesn't feel right, then you should listen to your gut and get out of that situation. So I'm looking forward to reading this one. I think it should be really good. It's a topic that I'm very much interested in as well. Maybe because I'm a lover of true crime, that could be part of the reason. And then the next one I want to read is Surrounded by Idiots. I hauled this year. I've hauled quite a few of these this year because I'm trying to read through at least 75% of the books that I've bought so far this year. I've done a whole video on that. I will leave it linked up above and down below. Basically, I'm trying to reduce my hauled books TBR for 2021 to 0 because I want to read the books while I'm still hyped for them. Anyway, so I hauled this recently because I said that I wanted to read some more kind of business self-help kind of books. Not for any particular reason, really. I just think that it would be quite interesting to, as I kind of progress in my career, read more books around the topic, even if they're not necessarily the most useful ones. I would like to try to figure out which ones are good and which ones aren't so much. So this one I think talks about communicating with 4 different personality types and different ways of doing so. This next one is one that I've hopefully already started by the time this video is up. If not, then I need to start it ASAP. That is Black Sun. I said that I was going to read this in September because I needed to recap it, but I'm going to be recapping it and reading it in October instead. It's going to carry over into October. We were also supposed to read this for the Space Sirens book club. I didn't personally read it because I couldn't get into the ebook, so I bought a physical copy and I'm hoping I'll really enjoy it. It's been getting rave reviews recently, so I'm very much looking forward to reading it. I don't know much about it. I think it's sci-fi, but it could also be kind of fantasy with a sci-fi twist. S.A. Chakraborty has blurbed it, which is always a good sign for me. The blurb doesn't really tell me much of what it's about. Something about a solar eclipse and a rare celestial event, which is fine. I like going into books knowing nothing about them, so I'm looking forward to reading this one. Judging by the rave reviews, I'm going to really enjoy it. And then I thought, amongst all of this kind of dark, hard-hitting stuff, I would probably also want to read something a bit lighter. So I've chosen Arusha and the End of Time, this middle grade book about Arusha. I believe her mother works for a museum, and then Arusha accidentally triggers some items in the museum and gets sucked into a fantasy world, I think. It's Indian inspired, it talks about Indian culture, Indian mythology, and I'm really looking forward to reading it. Next I have a couple of maybes because I'm not sure I'm going to get to them, but I think they would be good ones to potentially read in October because they're kind of spooky horror books. So the first one is Dread Nation by Justine Ireland. I got this one from the library, which is why it's so shiny. This one is a historical book set after the Civil War, and it's about zombies. There's a zombie outbreak and the main character goes to a school to train to be a zombie fighter. I did start this years ago, but I struggled to get into the ebook for some reason. I think I just wasn't really in the mood to read on my Kindle. I really enjoyed the first 100 pages, so I'm looking forward to finally finishing this one. And then I also maybe want to read Pine, which is a gothic thriller. It says here that Lauren and her father live alone in the Highlands in a small village surrounded by a forest. When a woman stumbles onto the road one Halloween night, Niall drives her back to their house. In the morning she's gone. So it's set over Halloween. I didn't realise that to begin with when I first picked this up from the library, but I'm super happy. It's also quite short, so I'm thinking maybe I could read it as a kind of 24-hour readathon on Halloween perhaps. If I decide that I would rather pick it up sooner, then I'll probably read it for Dewey's 24-hour readathon, which is happening on the 3rd weekend of the month, I believe. And then finally I have Miracle Creek, which is a mystery courtroom thriller, I think. It says here that in this town a pressurized oxygen chamber explodes and it kills 2 people, so there's a murder trial. It says here that there are trysts in the woods, mysterious notes, child abuse charges, tense rivalries and alliances among a group of people driven to extraordinary degrees of desperation and sacrifice. So I don't think this is going to be a spooky book, but I do think it's going to be thrilling, and I'm very much looking forward to reading it. I love this cover as well. I've had my eye on this one for a while, and it is out in the UK in a UK edition, but I liked this one. This cover is gorgeous. I'm looking forward to finally getting stuck into this one because I think I'm going to love it. So those are all the books that I am hoping to read in October. This might switch up a little bit because I might be in the mood for something more horror or something a bit more spooky, but we will see how that goes. I'm hopefully going to be doing some reading sprints in October. I will definitely be doing some sprints for the 24-hour readathon, which again is on the 3rd weekend of October, I think. But I'm also thinking about perhaps doing some sprints during the week as well. We'll see how that goes. So if my TBR does change, then you'll know about it if you watch those sprints. I think it's going to be a really good reading month. Let me know in the comments below what you'll be reading on October. Tell me if you're going to be leaning into the spooky season or not, or if you're not really into that, perhaps you're hoping to read some light fantasy or contemporary instead, which is also valid. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll speak to you all in the next one. Bye!